There's no right way or right tool. It's what feels right for your body. So I have today with me a Coregeous ball. This could also be done with a rolled up yoga mat. So I have a rolled up yoga mat, or like a denser rolled up blanket, like a rolled up yoga blanket could work for this too, if you don't have a Coregeous ball. The foam roller could also work for all of this, but I just find that the foam roller can be really hard. And for me, if you've rolled with me before, you've probably done some of this stuff, but I feel that you can't address the low back without addressing it from the front. So I always do a little abdominal rolling, because this is where our hip flexor lies, which is really a big part of that catching. It's when the hip flexor catches that we have a hard time freeing the hip and extending through the hip, but maintaining stability of the spine. So yes, if you want to get something that would be an equivalent or similar to this, I would recommend that now. I'm going to be working the QL on this, the QL. I'm going to use this alpha ball, or you can use like a softball size ball. You could also use, like Margot, I know you have the air-filled one that's about this size, which would probably be nice for you. You could also, again, use that rolled up yoga mat. And if that doesn't feel right, it's a bit more direct, and I find a bit more intense. But another variation for that is also using your block on either a thick book. I mean, use your standard size therapy ball in a book or a block. So those are the things we'll be working with today. I really do want to get into, like we were talking about the QL today. I can't address the back without getting into the psoas. And both of those things are to, and I want to free up a little bit of rotational motion too. So to begin, let's just become familiar with how our back is feeling right now. So I'm going to mute all the participants if they're not already, so that I stay on your screen and there's no feedback. And everybody that's worked with me before knows, feel free to ask a question at any time in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourselves and ask a question. This is totally for you. So go ahead on your back right now, please. And let's bend, have our knees bent, and have your standard size therapy balls nearby. This can totally be done without therapy balls too. I really just want you to arrive on the back. Take a deep breath. Let go of any efforting. And just feel the body where it rests on the earth. Let's start by bringing awareness to the sacrum. Feel the tailbone and the sacrum. The sacrum is the triangular bone that makes up the back of the pelvis that sits at the bottom of the spine. And let's just see what our movement is like down here. So without any prop, let's just do a pelvic tilt, tipping the pelvis forward so that you tip your hips towards your heels, rolling down the sacrum. And then tip your hips towards your head so that you roll towards the top of the sacrum or the low back. And I just want you to feel this rocking on the sacrum like you're in a rocking chair. So a lot of this work that we do is to regain awareness or proprioception of the body so that we can move in better patterns. And if we know where our body is in space, we can decrease the patterns of strain, be more aware of when we're causing pain or dysfunction, and have the ability to come back to a safe, supported position. So really just focus on rocking. It's like you're in a rocking chair, right? Rocking to the front or the tailbone, and then rocking to the back, rocking to the lumbosacral junction at the top of the pelvis. Welcome so much. Thank you for joining. I'm going to mute participants so I stay on the screen. So just start with that little gentle rocking, like a rocking chair. And then pause. From here, let's try to rock side to side on that sacrum. So I want you to think about that shift coming from the knees. So it's like one knee shifts forward as the other one pulls back, like a steering wheel, like you're turning the steering wheel of the knees. And then the other side shifts forward and the side you're going to shifts back. So now you're rocking from edge to edge, from left to right on the sacrum. And it's like your knees are a steering wheel towards the ceiling. So one knee shifts up towards the ceiling, as the one that shifts back, the weight shifts to that side. And it's kind of like you're dancing a little bit, shifting your weight from foot to foot. And just notice how this feels. Notice if you can even do it. If you can even feel the movement from side to side in the sacrum. And this is so important to just be able to feel into. So that we can learn to better move through this area. So shifting to the left and then rocking back to the right. And keeping this rotation or this gentle rocking really gentle, like you're self-soothing, like you're rocking a baby, still visualizing that rocking chair, but now side to side. And then come back to center and feel the whole sacrum on the floor. Take a couple deep breaths, and as you exhale, feel the breath evacuate from the belly so that there's a dropping into the sacrum. This is your foundation for the spine. Maybe you can put your hands right on the pelvis, on the low belly, and take a few breaths here. As you exhale, feel that exhale move down so it lands right at the front edge of the sacrum, the front edge of that triangular bone at the top of your spine. This is where your center of gravity is. In martial arts or traditional Chinese medicine, it's known as the hara or the dantian or power center. It's all the same place. See if you can sense that place right on the front border of the sacrum, so the back wall of the pelvis. And then take your therapy balls now. Bring your therapy balls right to that place. So in the dimples of the low back. Now we're going to use the balls to accentuate the mobility there. So to increase the mobility there. So now you're going to tip over the balls, kind of like a waterfall, tip the hips towards the heels. And then now tip back the other way. So now we're just getting a little anterior and posterior, or forward and backward, tipping of the whole pelvis. And feel how the spine starts to move with the pelvis. So where the pelvis goes, the spine follows. About 3 more times in each direction, just warming up the low back and the pelvic mobility in the forward and back plane. Learning how to move the foundation. Again, the rest of the spine stacks on this foundation. And like I said, this can be done without the therapy balls too. The therapy balls just makes it easier to move through greater range. And now pause in stillness. Place your hands back on the pelvis. Feel into that physiological center, the front border of the sacrum, so the back wall of the pelvis. See if you can place an anchor right there. Anchoring that place into your therapy balls or into the floor. Now, maintaining the pelvic stability. Can you let one knee just rock out to the side without moving the back or the pelvis? And then return that leg to center. Try it 3 more times on whatever side you chose. Just stick with one side. Don't let the back, don't let the pelvis move. Keep that anchor right in the front border of the sacrum. Two more times. Going really slowly. You might have been like, wait, I already did 3. But how slow and smooth can you make that motion? Can you be curious and explore into that free motion of the hip as the spine and pelvis stays stable? And then go ahead and switch sides. Really smooth, really slow. Only thing moving is the ball inside of the hip joint. And if you're like, what am I doing? If you look towards me, you'll notice the motion isn't huge. I'm not trying to drop that knee all the way down to the floor. I'm just trying to now get this rocking motion of the hip. That rocking motion is calming to the nervous system. It helps decrease any holding or muscular tone. And this ability to separate the hip motion or the extremity movement from the movement of the core or the torso is the foundation of core stabilization. One more round. And now remove your therapy balls. We have 2 more things that we're going to do without any tools. So coming flat on your back, legs extended now. I want to get into the side body. And like I said, I really want to work on the quadratus lumborum today. So this will prime that, creating a little length in the side. Bring your arms up overhead. Reach through your heels and reach through your fingertips. And now reach just through the left arm and the left leg, lengthening out the left side of the body. And then return to center. And then let's do that on the right. Reach out through the right hand, right heel, creating as much length in the side body of the right as possible. And return to center. And back to the left. Reaching up, kind of like you're pulling rope. Back to the right, alternating 3 more times to each side. And it's just this gentle reach. You'll feel a lengthening through the side waist. You may even feel a lengthening through the hip flexor. Two more to each side. Just a little pull. Just easing into the first barrier of those tissues without forcing. Lengthening long on one side. Reaching long on the other. Do one more for good measure. Stretch through left heel, left hand. And then stretch through right heel, right hand. And then return. So we got forward back, we got a little side to side. We started with some rotation of the hip, and I have one more hip rotational motion to do. So bend your knees again. Knees are slightly wider than the hips. So if you're on a yoga mat, almost as wide as the yoga mat. And then bring the arms out like a T. I would suggest actually palms facing down so that the upper body stays anchored. And this will help disassociate or separate the rib from the pelvic mobility. So now push through your left foot like you're doing a left bridge and feel how that rocks your knees over to the right. You'll feel the left glute turn on, feel the left foot press into the floor. You'll even start to feel some psoas lengthening. And then come back to center. Both shoulder blades stay grounded. Twist to the left, so push through the right foot. Squeeze the right glute gently. Feel the stretch in the right psoas. Come back to center. Back to the right, left foot pushes. Knees go to the right, both shoulder blades stay down. Left glute turns on a little bit. Getting those glutes to fire is critical for the low back. So this is just a nice, gentle, reciprocal or alternating motion that is very similar to gait. We need trunk rotation in gait. We need alternating glute contraction. We need one hip going into flexion, one hip going into extension. So this is really a beautiful pre-gait action. And feel free to stay here, but I'm going to give you one more option. So if you have this coordination down and you'd like to encourage that gait motion even more, the next time your knees come over to the left, let the right arm swing up and overhead so that you get even more lengthening through the whole right side. Then return back towards center as you push through your left foot, left hand swings up overhead. And as we do these gentle rocking actions, which could be considered similar to Feldenkrais, which if you've been to True Care you might have done, or from where I've learned them, a style of yoga we call Satya, we're flossing all of those connective tissues in the body, just feeling the edge of motion, getting a gentle stretch, and then returning. Like we're milking the tissues in a really gentle rocking way, soothing the nervous system, encouraging pain-free motion. Last round on each side, and then we're going to come back into our quadratus lumborum roll. So come back to center, maybe even straighten your legs out again. Just feel the legs lengthen, feel the back relax. And then I'm going to have you do a little pre-test before you go into this quadratus lumborum roll. Take your hands and just place them under the low back. Notice how much space you have. You might have a lot, you might have a little, I can't tell you which. And then also notice, do you have more on one side than the other? That's often very common. And then now we'll go through this roll and we'll check again and see what we find after. So like I said, I'm going to use this therapy ball, this alpha ball, which is about the size of a softball. If you don't have this ball, you can certainly use a standard size therapy ball. Oops, this is out of your view. A standard size therapy ball, just one on a block. But as I was saying, this is a little direct. So if you don't have either of those tools, this is where I like to pull in that rolled up yoga mat or that rolled up blanket. And what we're going to do is we're going to place it. I'll show you with the yoga mat first if you don't have the alpha ball. But if you have the alpha ball, please take it right there. Yeah, towel, firm blanket, rolled up yoga mat is going to come to that space between the pelvis and the rib cage. So good lumbar mobility allows us to separate the rib cage and the pelvis motion. When the QL, or the quadratus lumborum, which is like a big muscle that makes up the back wall of the abdomen, contracts, we can't do that. So this is going to do that for us. So take that, whatever tool you're using, and kind of stick it into that arc, that space. in that area so that it lifts up that arch and fills that space. I'm going to come back to my alpha ball. And now all we're going to do, we're going to add a little compression into that. So I still like my arms wide, palms down. It gives me nice stability in the upper body. Legs slightly wider than the hips. We're going to come back into the rocking. I'm on my left side, so I'm going to cue for the left side, but you can do whatever side you prefer. I'm going to rock the knees in the direction of the ball. So I'm going to rock my knees over to the left. And I'm going to find that edge of motion, my first barrier, my first edge, my first point of sensation. I'm just going to meet it there. Then I'm going to ease off. I'm going to meet that edge. And then I'm going to ease off. I'm going to do that 2 more times. And then on the last time, I'm going to leave my legs over to the left. So my bottom leg is coming towards the floor. I'm going to take my top leg towards it so that it brings me into more of a rotation. And feel free to reposition your knees. And you should feel, I'm just going to show you, I'm going to stay where you are, but I'm going to show you, you should feel the ball in this place right here, or the tool in this place right here on the side of the low back, filling that space between the pelvis and the rib cage. If you're not feeling it there, not feeling pressure into that place, feel free to move whatever tool you have around. This top hand, this opposite hand can stay behind you, or if you'd like, maybe you bring it overhead, maybe you come onto your side, wherever you feel most comfortable, allow yourself to be there. If it's behind you, it brings you into a little bit of rotation. And there should be a point of sensation under the ball. Now find stillness here. Send all your awareness and all your breath to where your tool and the body meet. Taking 5 deep breaths. As the breath comes in, expanding the breath into that tool. And then as you exhale, sinking into it a little bit more. 3 more breaths here. Lying over your blanket, your yoga mat, your ball. Repositioning to find that just right spot. And then if you're not yet all the way on your side, come all the way on your side. And now I'm right at the edge of the pelvis here. And I'm gonna lie right back down on my side, and that ball is gonna go right into the narrow point of the waist. Here's a good place that if you'd like, again, I'm just giving lots of options depending upon what tools you have and the sensitivity of your body. So take it or leave it. Don't feel like you have to listen to everyone. Here's a place where you could, if you wanted to on your side, just take your foam roller and lean over. This is good too. Yeah, the melt foam roller, the softer foam roller is perfect. I love the soft one. It makes it a lot easier. I see Jeannie has that. And just breathe. Just breathe. No need to move, no need to do anything. Just breathe deep into the belly. And if you can lie over the foam roller, please feel free to do so. Yeah, You can lie over, support the head. Take one more breath wherever you are. I'm going to come back to my ball, which would be more similar to the towel. But if you're on the foam roller, stay there. You can stay on the foam roller on your elbow and get some rotation with the arm. But I'm going to come back down to the ground. So on your side now, pull your knees into your chest. So we were talking about how there was that tightness on both sides of the spine, and there's that tendency to want to stay in an arch position at the beginning of class. So if you pull your knees up towards your chest, it's going to lengthen out the low back so that as you twist, you're keeping the low back long and not compressing through the low back. So now here, I'm going to just slide my top hands across my body and come into a twist. I don't have quite enough room here. The arm reaches back behind you. Take a full round. Inhale and exhale into that twist. So pelvis is anchored. Knees are stacked on top of one another. And now I'm opening through the upper body. My upper body is the driver. And then I'm coming back all the way to the side. Starting on the side. Knees in towards the belly. So a little tuck. Keep the knees anchored, pelvis anchored. Top hand slides across, reaching back, coming into a twist. You might not go as far because we're really focusing on anchoring the low back. And you also might have a prop underneath you. Full breath in here and then back. We'll do this one more time. Rotating. And then unrotating back towards your side. So from here, we're going to transition, but don't move too quickly. I'm going to have you transition through your belly. So come from your side, transitioning to your belly, moving slowly, moving gently. We're going to come bring a prop under our belly. Like I said, I can't work the low back without addressing the belly. So your options here are your rolled up blanket or yoga mat or towel. My favorite is the Coregeous ball. And if you're a little bit tough, you could also use your foam roller. And this is a little bit firmer, so it's a little bit more intense. So if you find that if you have the foam roller and use the foam roller and you're in this kind of struggle, this fight with the foam roller, like you can't relax into it, then it's too much. Although Jeannie, the melt foam roller might be fine, might feel good. So do what feels right for you. And then now as you arrive here, if you're on the foam roller, you might want to start on the elbows. But ultimately, I want you to think about lying down on your belly with whatever prop is under your belly and feeling it create a little tractioning in the back. It's like your tailbone and hips drop one way, and it's like your ribs drop the other. And the apex, the high point, is that lumbosacral junction. So we're tractioning and opening right where the pelvis and the lumbar spine meet. And here we're going to use our breath to drive that release. So I want you to breathe deeply into your belly. As you breathe into your belly, feel the breath fill your low back. And then exhale and feel yourself sink a little bit more into your tool, whether it's a blanket, a ball, foam, it doesn't matter. Find whatever is suitable and works well for you. So you should really feel this right in your belly. And also if it's sensitive in your belly, You can do a little rocking side to side because 80% of low back pain has a visceral or an abdominal component to it. Yeah. Nice, Jill. Perfect, Thomas. Great work, everyone. And this is a really great thing to do too before going to bed at night. You can just spend a couple minutes like this. It's just gonna bring you right into sleep because all of the parasympathetic innervation in the abdomen, it's just gonna help shift you into that rest and digest state. If you're rocking, keep that rocking gentle. And then if you decided to move, come back to the stillness and see if you can just allow yourself to be heavy over whatever prop you're using. So really feel yourself sink. Feel the weight of your body and gravity absolutely melting towards the earth. And with each breath, feel the breath fill into the low back. There should be a sense of buoyancy rising and spreading on the inhale, and then a sinking on the exhale. And then very gently start to make your way off. Maybe bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Just push up with your arms a minute. And it might feel really nice just to come back to just momentarily to a child's pose. Feeling that continued lengthening through the low back. So we just release the front so that we could lengthen into the low back. So just come into child's pose and feel the breath there for just a couple of breaths. Hands, head can be wherever you want. Just think about continuing to send the breath into that back. Like we said, oftentimes we have those two bands of tightness along the spine. So to get more lengthening in the back here in this posture, your knees would actually come together. So if you're working on elongating those bands on each side of the spine, the quadratus lumborum, the spinal extensors, you're more likely to get that lengthening when the knees are together. There's still a little arch in the back when you have your knees wide and belly's dropping towards the floor. So if you're targeting length in the low back, bring the knees together, but whatever feels right in your body is right now. Perfect. Take one more big breath in. And then exhaling fully, coming back for the other side. So on your back, I'm going to change directions of my head so you still see the ball on your side of the camera. So on your back, knees bent, we're going to come all the way to our back, start with that little rocking. So whatever prop you used in that arch of the low back, whether it was a towel, a rolled up blanket, a rolled up yoga mat, you could use the small ball on a small on a block. I've even had a friend use jars, like a peanut butter jar or a can of soup. That works really well here too. So be creative. And then start to rock the knees over towards the opposite side now. For me, it's the right. Like I said, I like to have the arms out slightly wider like a T to give me some ground to anchor the upper body so that I can feel into the separation of the pelvis and lumbar spine and then the thoracic spine. So in this portion, this first part of this QL release, and we're using rotation today to release the QL. There's lots of ways to do it. So in this part of the rotation, we're anchoring the upper portion, anchoring the top part, and moving the bottom. And then as you're ready, roll the knees over to the right, or roll the knees over towards the ball side. For now, I'm going to keep my arm behind me, so I'm still in a little bit of a twist, and I feel more pressure right into, I'll show you on the top side, onto the side of the waist. So if the ball is really close to the spine, move it out so the pressure is more towards the side body, as if your hand is on your hip. That's where you want it. And there should be a tender point right at the top point of the pelvic bone. So your weight should be kind of right over the side of the pelvic bone. And breathe in here. And then once that sensation subsides, roll all the way onto your side. So now you're all the way on the side. Your ball or your tool is right in that space between the pelvis and the rib cage. This is where I said you could put the foam roller if that felt better on the other side. And now breathe into the side body. So as you breathe in, feel the breath go right to where your body and the tool meet. So the breath goes sideways in the belly. And you use the breath to drive this gentle mobilization or this gentle internal massage, allowing the body to release in that space between the rib cage and the pelvis. And now bring your knees up towards the chest. That lengthens out the low back. Even give a little tuck of the tailbone. So now we're anchoring this part of the body. Bottom part is still, and now the top part drives the motion. Slide. Just drag your top arm over the bottom and across the chest, opening up to a twist. You may not go far. Hold for a full breath. On the next exhale, unrotate back all the way to your side. Feel how the pelvis and rib cage are going in opposite directions. Keep the low back long by keeping the scoop or the posterior tip of the pelvis, feeling the front border of the sacrum again, that hara or dantian or center of gravity that we were talking about. And then rotate again, just the upper body moves, pelvis and hips stay still. Full breath here. As you breathe, feel a ringing action. Pelvis going one way, rib cage going the other. And then untwist. One more round. Full breath hold. And then untwisting back towards your side. Remove your props. Come back towards child's pose. Knees together for more flexion or lengthening in the low back. You may even tuck the ribs and tuck the forehead towards the knees and breathe into the low back to get that lengthening. Can you send your breath again right to the front of the sacrum? And as you breathe in, feel how the breath makes the sacrum rise like a hot air balloon lifting off. And from here, reach the arms out in front of you. Lift up a little bit from the belly. Coming through hands and knees, can you shift yourself forward now, bringing the hips down and the head up, coming towards spinal extension. Drop the shoulder blades down the back. This brings you almost like if you're in physical therapy to a press up type position, we call it. If this is too much, forearms are a wonderful option. Find a place that's sustainable, and wherever you arrive, land here and then relax your butt. The right option for you is where you can comfortably sustain it. So elbows, maybe the arms are a little wider or forward. Take 4 more breaths. And now I'm just going to bring you through a little flow, a little movement between flexion and extension to integrate the actions we did. So bring your hands under your shoulders. Before even lifting, pull your belly in towards your spine. And as you lift, keep your spine straight. No arching in the back. Shift the hips up and back towards child's pose. Inhale, roll up through cat's breath, so rounded through your spine. Keep the rounding. Then start to extend, drop the hips forward. Feel a moment of extension here. Lower down, roll down towards your belly. Now here's the abdominal activation. Push through your hands, push through your knees. Feel that space right at the base of the spine engaged, drawing the navel back. Spine stays straight, lift up through hands and knees, shift back. Let's do that 2 more times all together. Pull the belly in to pull you forward like a wave, lifting up, feeling that wave round. Then the wave crests as you extend. Then you roll back towards the floor, getting every motion, every joint of the spine to move. From the floor, pull your belly in. Hands, knees, feet push into the earth. Back stays straight. Push yourself back. 1 more round. Lifting up, rounding like a wave, cresting, coming through a cat type position. Draw yourself forward, then allow that wave to crash so that you arch, gently lowering. Coming into extension, rolling down 1 segment at a time. Can you control that downward action? And then press into your hands, press into your feet. Pull the belly in so the spine stays straight and shift back towards child's pose. Really nice little yoga flow spinal integration. Pause there for just a minute. That's a really nice thing you can practice. If you do yoga or want to get into yoga, that's a really nice way to start understanding that flow. Looks like everybody's coming out just for 1 minute. I came to sit so I could watch you, but just for 1 minute, go ahead and lie on your back. I want you to lie flat, let your legs out in front of you, Relax the back, relax the whole body into the earth. Yeah, take a few breaths. Reconnect to the sense of the spine on the floor, feeling the sacrum completely supported by the earth. Reconnecting to the support of the earth, the heaviness in the pelvis. And then just do that little test like we did before, and just take your hands to the arches of the low back and notice if it feels any different after working through the side waist, working through the QL. Maybe there's a little less arch there now. And then as you're ready, stay there as long as you need, letting your breath come back to neutral. And then we'll meet in sitting. Thank you so much for everyone for joining me today. It was such a pleasure. I hope that you learned something new and your back's feeling better. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.